Welcome back to another video, and today's topic is nuclear revenge. This is a topic that I enjoyed making, and I enjoyed making the last video that you've seen on this topic. So, we're going to talk about another one of the stories today. I hope you enjoy. My girlfriend cheated. I never let her forget. This isn't just a revenge story. This is of a revenge of how revenge hurts both parties. To this day, a good revenge story gives me a warm, bubbly feeling inside. I believe it comes from this college experience years ago when I got revenge on my cheating girlfriend, and it felt so good. I know I'm not supposed to enjoy it, but I can't deny how satisfying it feels. Hey, same here. Um, it's probably one of my favorite feelings in the world, even though I'm ashamed to admit it. So I decided to write my first post about this because I don't tell this story often. It is so extensive, and honestly just makes me look bad. I'm going to try my best not to paint a picture where my ex looks as bad as possible and me as innocent as possible. I wanted to write it as accurately as I can, even if it makes me look bad. Bit of context in the backstory. At the time of this story, I played Division 1 NCAA basketball at a school, so I traveled a lot, weekly in different states and cities, and my entire life revolves around this. During the events of this story, I was in the early stages of a horrible drug and alcohol habit. Years after this story, I ended up getting sober and joined a program whose name you can find on the front of almost any phone book. I am sure many people reading this are also sober and will understand how we alcoholics and addicts can be. This story is an effort to explain a character defect that manifested from the events in the story that led me down a very dark path. However, I don't mean this story to come off as a self-pity kind of way. Lastly, I was a good kid. I was never in trouble. Um, my upbringing was very difficult, but I was able to keep overlooking that and keep an overall kindness in my spirit to other people, and almost always did the right thing, quote unquote, or took the high road, quote unquote. When it came to dating people, I know people cheated in their relationships, but at the time of this story, I had always chalked it up to other people not doing things the way I did, quote unquote. I never really thought it would happen to me, but I always thought because I was a 5-star boyfriend, quote unquote, and quote unquote amazing choice in women, identically, infidelity would never be a part of my dating journey. It was naive and really thought highly of myself. Also, I had real arrogance like any guy in their early 20s, I guess. The build up. I was in my junior year of university. I had been single for about a year after me and my high school girlfriend broke up after 3 years. I checked our relationship off as a learning experience, quote unquote, and I now knew what to look for in my next girlfriend. The women I chose to have a relationship with, I would most likely marry and start a future with. I know I was young, dumb, and thought I knew everything. Lol. I had my eye on this girl at school. We will call her Lisa. I saw Lisa around the college athletic facility, the university, teams, training grounds, and locker rooms. Lisa ran track for the track team and was damn good. The various athletic teams often had parties, and I knew that the first one I saw her at, I would introduce myself and try to chat her up a bit and see where it led. Soon enough, Lisa at one of these parties, and we pass each other on the stairs. We make eye contact, and she smiles at me. I sparked a conversation with her after going back and forth for a bit. We exchanged numbers. We began the classic American style of flirting, where we constantly just hint things back and forth, indirectly. We slowly progressed the relationship in this manner for weeks, sending texts back and forth, hinting that we were interested in each other, but also playing it cool to not let the other person know we had a crush on them. At the time, she was on a break with her current boyfriend, who was a popular football player on the football team. She ended up leaving him completely to date me. This should have been a red flag, obviously, but remember, I had several Herbers at the time, leaving him to date me and give me superiority. Complex. I was playing a good sport, and she was willing to leave the guy for me, then she will never leave me for another guy. LMAO, I was an idiot. I can't express how much I was into Lisa. I was addictively attracted to her and had that the weird feeling of, I can't believe my crush is actually into me. I really was drowned and so blind by my crush on her. I missed so many red flags, but our relationship began to progressing really fast. Because of this, I didn't really do a proper inventory of why I liked her so much. Fast forward 8 months later. We were officially together. Lisa has her own athlete's dorm room, but I was a couple years older than her and was working during the summers full-time and part-time during school/season, and had my own apartment near campus, and Lisa was basically living with me. She would even stay there when I was out of town, which was like 3 or 4 days of every week because we were in season and the team was flying all over the country. Me and Lisa, deeply in love regardless. At the end of the season, I had planned 2 massive back-to-back parties. One was my teammate's birthday, Friday night, and then my birthday, Saturday night. They happened to be one day after the other, and luckily landed on Friday and Saturday night. Me and Lisa got drunk Friday night and had some unprotected freaking. Lisa had a period tracker on her iPhone. She was asleep, and I drunkenly remembered she always marked down in her calendar when we had unprotected sex. So she knew I should be worried if I missed her period. If she missed her period. She missed her period often because she was an athlete. My inebriated brain thought she would put it in her calendar now because we would forget the next day since we were so screwed up. So I woke her up and could you put in the calendar that we had unprotected? Yeah. At this point, it was like 5 a.m. and we were that 5 a.m. kind of drunk when you're mostly just tired. She unlocked her phone and opened the app, and before she could even do it, she fell back asleep. So I took the phone, while it was still unlocked, and proceeded to try and figure out how to put it in her calendar myself. Side note, though our entire relationship, Nisa went through my computer and phone constantly. She was very insecure and always had her suspicions. I didn't care what she was doing. She was doing this at all the time. She never found anything because I never did anything shady. Ever. Again, looking back at it, this was an obvious red flag I missed. Remember, I thought this girl would never cheat on me? So this wasn't one of those stories where I went through her phone looking for something and subsequently finding it. In this case, I was oh my god, read correctly. Innocently trying to navigate the damn period calendar while I was drunk, and I was not suspicious at all. When I looked at the period calendar app on Lisa's phone, I saw all kinds of markers on different days of each month. Each marker was a different color, so I opened up to see the color coding and what it meant. I saw that red was obviously symbolizing her period, and there was a black marker sign that she had unprotected sex. This is when my heart sank into my stomach. Calendar was peppered with black markers. It looked like a checkerboard with only a handful of red pieces left. All the black ones. There was black markers on the dates that I was in a different city playing basketball. I proceeded to open all the black markers, going back for our entire relationship. We did not have unprotected blank very often. Maybe once or twice a month. She had written the names of the guys she had unprotected blank with in the notes section of the black markers. There was a total of 4 guys throughout the entirety of our relationship that she had allowed to penetrate her raw. Some months there were almost a dozen of those black markers. Sometimes there was 2 in one day. Looking back, I wonder if there were more unlisted men that I didn't see, because she clearly kept track of the guys she had and times that she had it. In almost every story I hear of identifying infidelity, it involves the discovery of text messages, being informed by a friend, or the classic coming home early and catching your partner red-handed. I, on the other hand, discovered a well-documented ledger of almost every time she had cheated. Amongst 4 guys, I discovered one of them was her ex that she'd originally left me to date. Cheating on me with him was common occurrence. There was some other unknown guy she was also clearly sleeping with regularly. The last 2 fellas looked just to be one-time thing, but also, I said these markers were just the times she had it without a condom on. So, who knows what the true story was there. I sobered up real quick. I proceeded to look through Lisa's texts and calls. I had found nothing. However, at the time, Android phones had a folder where you could see deleted text, but not the contents of the messages. She had thousands of deleted texts and calls, but I couldn't see what they said. But I saw the numbers. I had a quick Facebook search and matched one of them with her ex, in addition to some guy, like half a dozen random dudes. The worst part, I found 2 of my teammates. One guy I actually was pretty close with. I just put the phone down after a few minutes. The evidence was overwhelming. The more it seemed to look at the phone, the more my insides began to hurt. I felt so defeated. I can't fully describe the feeling, but I'm pretty sure anyone reading that caught a significant other cheating knows what I'm talking about. I felt so stupid for trusting her, had no suspicions of her. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I regretted the times that I had an opportunity to cheat and remain faithful to Lisa. I felt like an idiot for not cheating her when I could have. My loyalty felt like a waste. I know it sounds like a ridiculous irrelevant to the fact that she was unfaithful. I think I was obsessed over that because if I had cheated as well, it wouldn't have hurt so much in that moment. All I could think about was how much it hurt. I would do anything not to feel that pain and embarrassment anymore. Question: am I the only one who thought this way after catching their parents cheating? Or parents' partner cheating? I'm curious. Well, no, I did it too. I proceeded to leave my apartment and go for a long walk. I had never felt emotions that were coming up, and I didn't know how to process them. My ego felt like literally dismantled from me. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was too embarrassed to tell anyone. My sadness quickly turned into anger. I knew I was gonna get my revenge. I just didn't know how yet. I was seething with rage and wanted to make sure she never recovered from this. My roommate slash teammate and best friend at the time, who was sleeping on the couch in my living room, we'll call him Bono, an Eastern European kid who stood 7 feet tall and was a Russian in demeanor, as if you can imagine. He also had equally ridiculous RL named hence Bono. Well, Bono called me Shorty after I started my walk. I answered, and he asked where I was. I asked to keep this between us, and I told him what happened. He stays on the phone and goes in my room, and I hear his Russian accent yell at her, "Hey yo, you cheated on OP?" And I faintly hear her inaudibly say something in the background, and him yell at her to get out of the apartment. After hearing some scuffling, Bono gets back on the list. Yo, she's gone. You can come back. Let's talk. I head back home, and me and Bono go over what happened. Things don't get sappy because we are both completely alpha males who both come from cultures where men don't cry. And neither of us really know what to say or do in this situation. He makes his best attempt to comfort me and says, "Tonight is your birthday. We're gonna get screwed up and finding you some people. Screw her. I never liked her anyway." Oh yeah, this day was my birthday. I forgot about that part. Me and Bono go out for breakfast. I'm still a little drunk. My phone is blowing up with texts and calls from Lisa. I tell her I saw everything on her phone, and I can't stand to speak with her or look at her. She keeps trying to convince me to come to my birthday party and make it clear I don't want her there. She clearly was concerned about exactly what Bono suggested earlier to me, and him chatted. Lisa and her entire reputation and popularity revolved around the fact that she was dating me. I think most people didn't like her in the first place, but put up with her because we were together. She knew that if I acted single at my birthday party and she didn't show up, everyone would know something was up and would ask. I think Lisa was more worried about being embarrassed than our relationship. I don't think much of what happened that night, but one of my friends sent me a little package for my birthday for my birthday from California filled with some really good devil's lettuce, hash, moon rocks, some pills, and the devil's dandruff. I proceeded to do a glorious swan dive into an intoxicated oblivion. All I remember is sitting in a chair at a pregame for my party. There was two girls sitting on the arms of the chairs. I still have a photo of that moment, and I remember it vividly. We were preparing to head out. I had a few tables downtown at a popular nightclub. The booze and the drugs were the only thing that made me feel normal. I had sunglasses and clearly had that happy, loaded grin on my face. The longer you look at the photo of me in that chair, you can tell I'm hiding a huge amount of hurt. Sitting on that chair, the cocktails of drugs starting to take effect. This was the first time I ever used substance not to party but to feel better, to make me feel normal. I remember thinking, I want to feel this way the rest of my life. I am never going to hurt like that ever again. With drugs, I have control, and no one can hurt me. Oh, how ironic that turns out to be down the line. I told my teammates and friends that me and Lisa were done, and they asked why she wasn't at the party. I didn't tell them why. I also didn't tell them that I was affected by it in any way. Just played it cool. I tried to focus on everyone on the party ahead of us. The revenge. I know it's been long, but it's there. So, this is one of those revenge stories where it was only half planned. I knew I wanted to get revenge on Lisa for hurting me so much, but I was kind of improvised at, as opportunities came up. My original kind of spirit had died at my birthday on that chair. All my morals went out the window. I never cheated in a relationship, therefore I believed I would never get cheated on. I realized how dumb that is, but that is what I thought all the time. I did not care about what collateral damage I caused as long as my mission to hurt Lisa as much as possible was accomplished. So, continued every day of my life, this was my new selfish mindset. I was sitting on my computer later that night skimming Facebook when I saw a profile of one of her track teammates on my feed. This is when I had my first vengeful idea. I decided I was going to attempt to get her teammate to bite one of those bite the bait that I was about to cast into the water. Thought I didn't have proof she was hooking up with my teammates, though I didn't have proof. She was clearly trying to hide the conversation between them. So I was going to see how many people who were close to her I could passionately hug. Luckily, I had more options than she had when cheating on me. Men's track team is much larger than a men's basketball team. Also, much better looking. Lisa's teammate I originally spotted on Facebook had a boyfriend, but I thought, clearly everyone cheats. Let's see if it's true. I proceeded to do a little furry social media dance with her. I know the one where, the one where I like a couple of her photos, she likes a couple of mine back, I shoot her a message, and bam, she's at my house, my bed a week later. I proceed to do something similar to other teammates of hers, on all of her 4x4 relays teams, coincidentally. So 2 of the 3 girls I passionately hugged bad boyfriends and subsequently cheated on them with me, which gave me some real mixed emotions. I stroked my broken ego, but also made me bitter and sad. giving me one of those women ain't crap, none of them loyal attitudes. This is such a typical story of while fighting monsters, I became a monster. This actually became my go-to strategy because it accomplished two things. It, in my screwed up mind, I exposed a cheater, but more importantly, if they're willing to cheat on their boyfriends, they would A, be more secretive about it, which meant that the drama would ensue, and it would come out that and be elevated, and B, it made me feel better about Lisa cheating on me, because it proved that it wasn't me that was the problem, it was the woman that was the problem. I know it's screwed up, but that's what I thought back then. I started to collect something that from every girl that I hooked up with, like a bra, a pair of panties, or some jewelry, etc. Not for creepy reasons, but this is important later, and was part of my plan. Sometimes I didn't even have to try. One girl left her very disgusting shoe. I knew Lisa would know whose shoe they were. They belonged to the girl that Lisa's ex-boyfriend rebounded with after Lisa and him broke up, which highly upset her because it was her friend. Now, it would upset her more because the same girl slept with both of her ex-boyfriends. I especially tried to collect items if it was something that I knew Lisa could distinguish, like a sweater from the women's track team if their teammate's name was on it. After some time, I collected a boatload of stuff. For a couple of months or so, one of Lisa's teammates' boyfriends found out about me and his girlfriend, and it started a big, beautiful, dramatic explosion of a series of events, and her teammates. This led to them finding out about one another's promiscuity. The drama was massive. Even their coaches had to get involved. Got so bad. This made me feel so powerful in such an evil yet satisfying way. I fell in love with the destruction it was causing. The most awesome part about it was the same week the athletic PR team had a massive poster of me all over campus promoting the game. They were everywhere. Some of the posters took up the entire side of buildings, so Lisa and her friends had to see me all over campus every day while the drama was erupting all around them. I felt like a triumphant dictator. It was glorious and pathetic at the same time. Their coaches even proceeded to have a serious meeting with the compliance department about my team's coaches. My coaches literally laughed and saying, this seemed like an internal issue, but OP hasn't done anything illegal or broken any school policies, so there's nothing we can do. This infuriated the women's track coach. Their team had fallen apart. Their nationality rank began to plummet. Then Lisa's coach got in trouble for being caught tearing down some of the small posters of me on the campus in a raging temper tantrum. I loved it all. I continued to add fuel to the fire, posting pics of me with the girls, smiling, being happy every chance I got on Facebook and Instagram. But under it all, I was bitter. I was so deep into my new mindset, I had already forgotten the kind-hearted, naive kid I used to be. I hated my old self because I let some girl emasculate me. I was so full of self-pity. Looking back, it was depressing. No one really knew I thought what I thought because I played the cool guy in front of people. There was even a girl on campus on one of those sports teams who claimed that she was pregnant with my kid after I pretended to like her in the same way I did all the other girls on the team. And soon as we passionately hugged, I moved on. It's a long story, but it turned out she wasn't pregnant, but the news or press that came from dug the knife deeper into Lisa's side. I left a trail of women I deceived and relationships I destroyed. I feel bad, but at the time I didn't care because they were equally at fault in my eyes since they were cheating on their boyfriends or sleeping with their friends. X. Quickly, girls became wary of me, plus I was running out of potential targets. I was an awful human being, but then I was thinking. And I was going after girls that weren't even friends or on the team, but were just in her daily life. For example, her classmates as well as her own family. I flirted with her sister who was married with a kid and I almost succeeded. She was down, but Lisa's dad found out about it and stepped in and put a stop before we could do anything. Her sister was ostracized and spread the news within the family. I wanted Lisa to know I was everywhere and constantly reminded her of how screwed she was. In my eyes, this was all her fault, and I unleashed this fury of chaos upon her. She should know I have screwed with me like that. She screwed with me like that. Lisa had to take extended medical leave because of her depression, mental health issues she was experiencing from the whole situation. She was becoming suicidal. She even had to go on a medication lost tons of weight, and she began to look extremely unhealthy. The mess of it was torturing her. The more she hurt, the better I felt. At this point, I had already inflicted more damage than she did to me, but I became addicted to the feeling of power. I spent zero time processing my own emotions or moving on from what happened. All I wanted was more revenge. I couldn't stop. After weeks of ignoring Lisa's calls, texts, and finally gets a hold of me by showing up to my apartment unannounced late at night. She was there to pick up stuff she left when she lived there to take home. She was actually local and her parents lived close by. She was still on her medical leave and was no longer staying on campus but rather with her parents. I told her I would bring her stuff to her parents that weekend. I could not let her in because I had company, which I did but I wasn't one of her teammates or friends, unfortunately. I then take all the items I had collected from the girls over the weeks. There was probably like 8 or 9 things from different girls, including her teammates, and threw them into her belongings and her belongings. With Lisa's stuff into the big black trash bag. I took the bags over to her house and called Lisa's dad. I told him I had left her stuff on the porch to inform his demon daughter. Me and Lisa's dad actually really got along and even took my side when me and Lisa broke up. But after all these events transpired, he obviously had a negative opinion of me. 15 minutes later, after I got off the phone with Lisa's dad, I get a call from Lisa. I answered because I wanted to hear her reaction to all of these girls' crap mixed in with hers. She was sobbing uncontrollably. It sounded like half cry, half mumbling things people do when they are hysterical. She wasn't even angry, just desperate, begging to stop my tyranny. I smiled and baked in the glory of her hurting. I responded, "Why were the other guys in your relationship? You mixed them into our relationship. I mixed other girls' stuff into your crap." It's perfect. Little ironic metaphor. I thought it sounded cool at the time and was really proud of myself. Facepalm. I later found out that one of Lisa's friends I knew she was cheating on me during the relationship. That Lisa was convinced I was the one cheating on her because I was always out of town. This doesn't make sense since I was out of town because of basketball, a very legit excuse, not just randomly on my own accord. You could literally see my schedule on the school website. I kept in contact with her constantly when I was gone, but obviously when I had practice or team meetings, I couldn't be on my phone. But she just didn't have the logic in her brain to figure this out, I guess. I assume it was just an excuse she made to protect her insecurities about the whole fiasco, to keep my people who she knew I was cheating. Lisa, months go by. Lisa comes back to school from her medical leave. We bump into each other at a physical therapy center in our athletes facility building. I see this as yet another opportunity. It had been a while since I did something that hurt her, and still feeling hungry for more vengeance, I proceeded to pretend like I wanted to rekindle things with her. She was cautious at first, but eventually bites after about a week. We start mending our relationship. We proceed to go out after a month, but I wouldn't call this a relationship. I would forbid her having any male friends, nor is she allowed to go out and party with her girlfriends. I also needed full access to her accounts and her location at all times. It was more like a hostage situation. It gave me more sense of control. Meanwhile, I'm not being faithful at all this time. This was my plan all along. She finds out about me sleeping with this girl in one of her classes. We have a nasty, quote-unquote, breakup. I told her that she literally knows what it feels like to be me when I last dated, yet I felt triumphant. I was just another chance to hurt her, and I did. After this, we don't speak for years. I graduated to university and moved to Central America. She messages me while I'm there, about a year after I moved, and 2 years after we last spoke. This is the point of my life where I become the most real degenerate. I was doing copious amounts of drugs on a daily basis, and about 75% of my life was involved in some sort of illegal, nefarious activity. But I still blamed her for the dark soul I was taking no responsibility for a bitter, immoral nature. I had another relationship since her, and always had trouble because I couldn't trust women in any capacity anymore, even after years had passed. I saw this instance of her messaging me as yet another opportunity. We began to talk as friends and even get flirty with each other over Facebook Messenger. Mind you, there was literally many countries, states, and oceans between us at this point. I was planning a trip back to my old university to visit some friends. However, I explained to her I was moving back to the city for a new job, and I was offered. We decided to meet up when I get back and see if there's anything worth saving between us. I had put off my best acting hat, and trying to seem like I have put our past behind us. However, I am as vengeful as I was years ago. She's finishing her last year, and I make the trip back to the USA. I meet Lisa at a coffee shop when I arrive. We spend the entire night together. From her point of view, it really looks like we had moved on from our past differences and what happened. We could actually work things out. However, I'm not moving back, obviously, like I told her. I'm staying 2 nights. She doesn't know this. After hooking up a few times and spending 2 days together, without mentioning anything to her about me leaving, I pack my things and get back on a plane to Central America. I block her on all social media and communication outlets. This is the time I could only fantasize about what happened to her when I disappeared after she thought I'd moved back and supposedly was ready to give our relationship another try. This is, however, it wasn't this time, however, it wasn't as satisfying as my previous plots of revenge. My drug habits and lifestyle got even worse. 3 years later, I was hospitalized and almost died because of ending extended drug use. I was never sober a full 24 hours after that day and went through that period calendar. And he talks about his, okay. Well, hope y'all, that was one of the longest stories I've ever read. So I hope y'all, if you like that type of thing, let me know. And if so, give it a like, subscribe, and see ya. Hope y'all have a good day.